Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are unpacking a truly fascinating review from the American Journal of Obstetrics and Gynecology. And honestly, this touches literally every single one of us. We're talking about maternal nutrition. And look, we aren't just talking about a basic checklist of what to eat for 9 months. We are talking about massive stakes here. The foods consumed before, during, and after pregnancy, they don't just fuel a temporary process. They literally create a lifelong health blueprint. They set the trajectory for chronic diseases, brain development, and metabolic health for decades to come.
Section 1, the perfect parasite myth. Okay, let's dive right into this and look backwards to understand just how far we've come.
For a large chunk of the 20th century, the medical community actually viewed the fetus as, and get this, a perfect parasite. Yes, that was the literal medical term they used. Doctors honestly believed the baby would just happily extract every single nutrient it needed to thrive, regardless of what the mother ate, unless she was facing extreme starvation. Because of this totally flawed assumption, pregnant women were often advised to severely restrict their diets. The going logic was kind of wild. They thought a skinny baby meant a trouble-free birth.
So, does the baby really just take what it needs? Absolutely not. Modern science has completely flipped this idea on its head. As you'll see, the intrauterine environment actually acts as a lifelong epigenetic blueprint. A mother's nutritional status directly regulates the baby's gene expression and organ structure. The baby biologically adapts to the exact environment the mother's diet creates, essentially setting their lifetime risk for cardiovascular and metabolic conditions right there in the womb.
Which brings us to a very real modern crisis. Right now, only 32% of women in the United States gain weight within the recommended range during gestation. Just let that sink in. That means more than 2/3 of pregnant women are either undergaining or overgaining. When you combine the statistic with diets that lack healthy nutrition before conception even begins, the immense scale of this nutritional crisis becomes super clear.
Section 2, the Fetal Balancing Act. Let's look at undernutrition versus overnutrition.
Developing a human being is basically a biological tightrope walk. Let's compare the two extremes. On one side, we have undernutrition. Without enough nutrients, the fetus restricts its own growth just to survive. This permanently alters its metabolism and cranks up the lifetime risk of insulin resistance. Now, on the flip side, we have overnutrition, which is super common with the standard American diet. Excess glucose and lipids cross the placenta, which accelerates fetal fat growth. This leads to macrosomia, meaning a very large baby, and primes the child for childhood obesity and inflammatory diseases like non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which, shockingly, now affects 1 in 3 youth with obesity. And this brilliantly illustrates just how permanent these changes are. Look at the Dutch hunger winter. During World War II, a specific population in Holland suffered a severe famine, followed by a very quick recovery. Well, researchers later discovered something incredible. If a mother experienced famine early in her pregnancy, her child had a much higher risk of adult obesity and heart disease. But if the famine hit late in the pregnancy, the child was more likely to develop type 2 diabetes. The precise timing of that nutritional restriction permanently altered the child's chronic disease trajectory.
Moving on to Section 3, eat better, not more. It's time to rethink the maternal diet.
Knowing the incredible stakes of this balancing act, how do we actually fix it? Well, the core mantra for pregnancy is simple: eat better, not more. We absolutely have to throw out that old eating for two myth. Energy and calorie requirements really only increase modestly. But the need for specific, high-quality micronutrients, that jumps significantly. Because, hey, you're building a highly complex new human being. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is seeing what eating better actually looks like in practice. Notice what takes up the most space on this plate: non-starchy vegetables, whole grains, legumes, and lean proteins. It heavily emphasizes healthy fats from nuts, seeds, and avocados. The goal is intentionally replacing the highly processed foods, fatty red meat, and sugary drinks of standard American fare. It's all about maximizing nutritional density. Every calorie needs to pull its weight.
Because every bite counts, meeting these crucial micronutrient demands is absolutely key. For example, a woman's need for folate and iron suddenly jumps by 1/3 to 1/2. Iodine requirements skyrocket to 250 to 300 micrograms a day to support the fetal thyroid hormones that are absolutely critical for early brain development. And choline is really taking the spotlight right now for improving neurodevelopmental outcomes. Because hitting all these targets through food alone is incredibly tough, a daily comprehensive prenatal multivitamin is universally recommended as a crucial safety net.
Speaking of crucial nutrients, this guide helps debunk a major modern myth. Many pregnant women are so terrified of mercury that they just avoid seafood entirely.
And honestly, that's a mistake. The best choices list, things like salmon, cod, and tilapia, provide vital omega-3 fatty acids. We're talking specifically about DHA, which is literally essential for fetal brain and eye development. Women are actually encouraged to eat 8 to 12 ounces of these low-mercury options every single week.
All right, Section 4, Dangers of Fad Diets. Let's talk about the risks these pose for the fetus.
We have to be incredibly careful about trendy advice. Fad diets that are heavily promoted for weight loss in adults, like keto or Atkins, rely on extreme macronutrient restriction. This can be disastrous for a developing fetus. Severe carb restriction can actually promote starvation ketosis in pregnancy, which has dangerous consequences for the baby's brain development. Or take paleo, which restricts dairy, risking major calcium deficiencies. Plus, the high saturated fats in these diets risk fetal overgrowth. Contrast all of that with optimal patterns like the Mediterranean or flexitarian diets. These balanced approaches are proven to lower blood pressure and significantly reduce the risk of gestational diabetes and preterm birth.
Now for Section 5, the power of lactation. Let's explore the dynamic world of infant nutrition.
The nutritional journey definitely doesn't end at birth. Human milk is not just some static formula. It is a dynamic, personalized nutritional powerhouse. Its composition actually changes based on the infant's age, the time of day, and, get this, even between breasts during a single feeding. It provides massive long-term health benefits for the infant while also actively lowering the mother's risk for metabolic syndrome, cardiovascular disease, and even certain cancers.
So, the crucial point is this specific, truly powerful fact. For mothers who developed gestational diabetes during pregnancy, exclusive breastfeeding for at least 6 months significantly decreases their risk of developing type 2 diabetes later on. It essentially acts as an incredible metabolic reset for the mother's body while simultaneously protecting the child from future obesity. It is a total biological win-win.
Section 6, the need for systemic support, because this goes way beyond just individual effort.
Acknowledging all this science is one thing, but actually implementing it, that's a whole different challenge. Eating perfectly is difficult and requires so much more than just individual willpower. The reality is, healthcare providers often lack the time, the specialized training, and the practical tools to properly support pregnant women. A rushed 15-minute appointment just isn't enough to overhaul a family's entire lifestyle. We urgently need systemic changes where nutritional counseling is seamlessly embedded right into prenatal care, giving mothers the actual support they need to succeed.
As we look toward the future, we arrive at a truly fascinating frontier. Will the future of pregnancy diet be dictated by your DNA? The emerging field of nutrigenomics suggests that one day the optimal pregnancy diet might be tailored specifically to your genetic makeup. How will your specific genes interact with your diet to create the absolute perfect blueprint for your baby? It's an incredible thought that proves we are just scratching the surface of how deeply our food shapes our future. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep staying curious.